Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, good. Okay, good morning if you're watching me from here. Good evening if you're watching me from Australia. My name is Lionel, and I'm head of services down under. And today is a very big day for my team. Because for me and my team, because basically we're releasing amazing features that we've been working on for years now. And today, hopefully after this talk, you'll understand why Australia is one of the leaders for the global push for Australian localization, as you could hear yesterday from Fabien. So before we get started, please scan the QR code. I'll add it into the next slides as well as I present the structure of this talk. We'll keep 5 minutes Q&A at the end, so make sure to scan it. All right, so we're going to start with the new features in Odoo 19. We're going to go across payroll, accounting, and point of sale before actually jumping onto database, a little bit of practice there, so that I can introduce you our brand new payroll module, or at least give you a little introduction. We also have next steps and roadmap, and we'll finish with the Q&A. All right, let's get it started. So, I was already complaining about it last year, but we spent sleepless nights working on payroll with my team, and I think if you're a payroll agent, an accountant, or a user that's very knowledgeable with STP software, you'll understand why. So this is why I'm extremely excited to announce that as of version 19, Australian payroll is fully out and fully compliant with Australian legislation. So what exactly does this mean? First of all, we're complying with single touch payroll, phase 2. So STP is basically the way that you report employees' tax and super information directly to the ATO. And we also comply with SuperStream, which is basically a standard requiring all employers to provide payments and related data to Superfund electronically. So we'll have a little look into this as we go. So now, Odoo can be used in version 19 to register your company for STP and to manage your legal obligations, also to create your employees and store all of their information, contractual employment information, into the system, manage cyclical pay runs and out-of-cycle pay slips, submit data to the ATO directly and pay super obligations via direct debit. So that is also super exciting because we don't have any direct debit features in Australia besides payroll yet, but this is a first step. Sorry. You can pay wages in a batch via ABA files. So if you have, whether you have 50 employees or 2,000 employees, yeah, maybe it's going to take a few more seconds, but you can pay them all with an ABA file. You can import your employees' year-to-date balances from your previous software, Xero, for example, and you can finalize your employees' year-to-date data at the end of the fiscal year. All right, so let's have a look into the version 19 specific release notes, because all these things that I showed you here were already partially implemented as of last year, but Australian businesses could not use them because we were still in the process of becoming compliant and we were finalizing the API integration with our clearinghouse. So now that this is done, this is available, and on top of this, our team cooked. And we implemented ATO mandated security requirements. They were a real pain, but they are now compliant with Australian standards. We also uploaded the 2025-2026 tax rates as of the 1st of July. We recently heard that there is also a change in the STSL loan that needs to be pushed for the 27th of September. We are onto it as well, if that can anticipate a question later. We also pushed allowances that can be taxed above a certain threshold only. So that was a little pain to implement, but for example, cents per kilometer allowances, overtime meal allowance, overseas and domestic travel allowances, these things were a little bit complex, but now it's basically managed by Odoo. You can import your year-to-date balances when you switch from another software to Odoo across multiple income stream types. So what exactly does that mean? Let's imagine you hire someone in July that starts as a working holiday maker and they switch to be a normal employee with salary and wages. You can now import both types of year-to-date and be compliant with the ATO. And finally, you have the ability to back pay or salary sacrifice any payment. So this is also a very good addition to our suite. And we have much more. I'm not going to go into the details of what we have, but just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we built here, the Australian payroll localization module is approximately 23,000 lines of code that have been optimized. So this is the second or third biggest payroll module in the world for Odoo, and so I'm quite excited to show you that today. But just to give you another level of understanding of how big this is, it took me 6 hours across 3 different sessions to teach my team of consultants how to use most of the features. So we only have 20 minutes today, we'll be efficient. So Australian Payroll is now available, so, sorry, excuse me. One thing that is very important to note, so we could spend a lot of time talking about the different features, but what is really the message I'm sending across here is that Australian Payroll and businesses can now use payroll at no extra cost as part of their one-stop shop solution. And this is really something that that we're really proud of, and that we have to realize that it's not an on and off switch. So it doesn't mean like, oh, we have payroll, we don't have payroll. We have payroll for most businesses. That still means that we need to qualify projects properly. So you can contact your account managers if you have questions, as if to double check if your business case is valid for our solution today. But basically it is, of course, integrated with a lot of applications we need to do. That is the strength of Odoo. It is integrated with employees, it is integrated with the documents, accounting, time off, expenses, attendance, and also planning. Right? So this is the exciting part, and this is all coming at no extra cost on top, let's say, as part of your subscription, enterprise subscription with Odoo. Okay, so before we dig into the demo, let's have a quick look into our new accounting features. One exciting thing is that we've had a lot of requests coming from certain sole traders and businesses making less than $75,000 turnover a year. Now you can decide to toggle on and off this little GST registered checkbox on your company level, and that will switch an invoice to become a tax invoice or vice versa. All right, an improved BAS report, a lot of improvements here and there. I'm gonna dig into it in a little bit. First of all, you can choose different types of BAS so that you can only see, for example, BAS A, BAS C, BAS D, so that you can only see the information that's actually relevant to your business. We have some new pre-configured taxes that I'm going to go and explain. We have the BAS report closing for payroll taxes, which was not possible in the past. And finally, all the BAS sections are now rounded down by default. It's a small addition, but it's a legal requirement. So we added this into our BAS report. Okay, so this is how it looks like. It looks a little clunky. The idea is basically to prepare for lodging the BAS report directly to the ATO as part of SBR compliance very soon. So this is not available yet. However, you can already choose your BAS type so that you're used to it, and as soon as we have the connection that's basically finalized with the ATO, that is going to be a necessary requirement. Okay. New BAS section, so you can see the pay-as-you-go income tax installment section here, so T7 all the way down to T4, fringe benefit tax that you can use, so F1, F2, F3, F4, and let's say some company-specific taxes and sections such as the luxury car tax, fuel tax credits, and wine equalization tax, the wet tax, right? So in order to get these numbers across the right sections, we of course had to come up with some pre-configured taxes, the new ones that are available in your database, such as, for example, pay-as-you-go installments, pay-as-you-go withholding that you can add manually onto your journal entries, or if it's fringe benefit tax or luxury car tax, you can actually add it to multiple places in Odoo for some automation. All right. Finally, the BAS closing, as you can see, we have W1 to W5, so these are the payroll taxes on your BAS report. You can now, thanks to, have you seen Winar's talk yesterday? If you saw it, you see the new BAS report engine, and you can see that this is already including in Australia the payroll taxes. So here we have $3,055 to pay back to the ATO, and you can see the tax entry. It's a little bit small here, but you can see sales taxes, purchase taxes, payroll taxes, they're all there, and they are basically used as a counterpart with the BAS clearing account. All right? So finally, one last point before we jump into the demo, integrate your point of sale with Tyro. So this is also a very exciting new features that we have. Up to last year, the only choice was Stripe, really, and we have a few complaints related to the price. Some customers will love to use Stripe, others will want to use Tyro. So this is something that you can now use to directly connect your point of sale terminal to Odoo. So how do you enable this? You go to the point of sale settings, you click on Tyro checkbox, and then you configure it just like any other payment terminals inside of Odoo. Okay? So less talking, more showing. I wonder how many more minutes do I have? 15 minutes until Q&A? 10 minutes until Q&A. Perfect. So we have 10 minutes for the demo. We'll go fast. I'm going to go onto this database that you can all see. Let's first go to our company setting. And as you can see here, I added a bunch of information here, such as, for example, my ABN. You have a little bit of an ABA checkbox here to verify whether your name is relevant and basically in coordination with the ABN on the ABR registry. You see the GST register checkbox that I talked to you about here, and I basically configured my company information before I get to register for payroll. So how do I register for payroll? You go to the payroll application, you go to configuration, settings, all right? So if you scroll down a little bit, on the right side, you can see I'm already registered. However, for the purpose of this presentation, we'll re-register. That is also something that you can do in case you change your company name, in case you change your ABN, in case you change the STP payroll responsible within your company. So that's what we'll do. We'll click on Enroll in Payroll, and you can see here, we're basically mimicking the clearinghouse portal onboarding that we had that basically was given to us. So this is going to be very easy to maintain for us. So you have to establish a payroll responsible. Next step. Am I authorized to register for this service on behalf of my employer? Yes. I'm reviewing my employer detail, trading name, register name, address, and payroll responsible. Yep. I need to select a bank account because, as I mentioned earlier, for SuperStream we have a direct debit agreement where money will be taken out of your bank account to pay for the superannuation guarantee of your employee. I'm clicking on next step, and finally you've got the signature that is of course recorded. So these signatures will be registered on our IAP server for compliance reasons, right? So of course you have to read the terms and conditions, guys. You have to look into the SuperChoice FSG PDS because you are actually going to send money via direct debit, potentially a lot of money. So please read the terms and conditions, make sure you know what you're doing, and then you click on register. And when you register, you have this little info bubble that shows up in import year-to-date balances here. We're going to skip this, but this basically gives you a strategy on how you can move from your payroll software onto Odoo. There are 3 different ways to do so. We're not going to spend too much time on it today. Okay, so now you're registered. Let's go to our employee application. And as you can see, I already pre-configured certain employees. For time reasons, I am not going to create a new employee. No, you know what, let's try it. So I'm going to create a new employee and call him Jerome Smith. I'm going to add a little photo. Perfect. I'm going to add only the information that are really needed for my compliance. So the work email, for example, work@example.com. Phone number. I'm going to go to the personal tab. And so if you forget anything important, do not worry, Odoo will tell you. So all the necessary fields to the ATO or to the clearinghouse, there are checks behind it. If you're forgetting something important, Odoo will tell you. So right now I'm going to add all the information that I need. Private@example.com, phone number, and of course a bank account because we need to be able to pay our employees' wages. Let's add a BSB, choose a bank, let's say National Bank of Australia, send money, and then save. All right, I'm saving this one. I know, because I've been testing payroll for thousands of years. I click on birthday, I need a birthday at some point. I need a gender for SuperStream, and I need my address, private address. Test, street, Varsity Lakes, Varsity Lakes, Queensland, and Australia. All right, finally, payroll information here. So we have a lot of information. I'm going to create the most basic employee possible. I'm going to say we're going to pay him weekly, 7,000 per week, and his contract started as of the 1st of July. All right, there are a lot of fields here. Documentation will be available in a few weeks, and you can also talk to your account manager if you have questions, let's say specifically to the implementation. So TFN, I'm going to declare my TFN here. We have an algorithm that looks whether your TFN is valid or not. It's working 38 hours per week. It's full-time, so I'm going to add a full-time contract here. And as you can see, we have so many fields here that I won't get into today. However, in this particular database, if you look at all my employees, you'll realize that I added tags for different flows. So our STP, let's say Lauren Johnson, she has STSL, so that's the student loan, right? She's, of course, had that to manage on top. Mason Clark, he is basically contributing his super guarantee to an SMSF, so self-managed super fund, as opposed to a public APRA fund. Savannah, she's a foreign resident and she's doing salary sacrifice. And Thomas Cox has child support obligation. So I'm adding these here just to show you. So this is going to be a very simple employee here, Jeremy Smith. I'm just going to go to super account and add a super account. So as you can see, we are integrated with the full list of APRA funds. So if I'm looking, for example, for HESTA or Australian Super, I can find it. All I need to do is add my member number. And these funds are updated in real time. Not in real time, sir, but once a day, we check the information from our clearinghouse. And then you have the member since date, let's say 2024 sometime, and you can actually do proportions and have multiple funds. You can, contribute 50% here and there. All right, so now that this is done, let's quickly go to a pay run and create a new pay run. So I'm going to go to payroll, pay run, choose my next pay slip. So you can see I already have 2 pay runs, 1st and 8th of July. So I'm going to go for the 15th of July, which is the next pay slip. I continue, I choose all my employees, select, and this is create all the pay slips. I can go into the details of every single pay slip, but you can see everything is done very, very fast. I go to Thomas Cox. Remember, he has child support. So if I look into the salary computation, I should have a child support total value here that he's paying for, 50 per month. If I'm going to Lauren Johnson, student loan, remember, I go down, see withholding for study and training support loans, right? So this is all connected to your accounting as well. So the next step will be to create the draft entry once you're very happy with the outcome and your accountants or your STP responsible looked into this and validated it. And then you can see on the top right, I have the submit to ATO button. That is the next step. So here, you have to specify the payment date, because sometimes the payment is not made yet, but you need to submit your ATO obligations. That's a legal requirement. I'm going to say we pay it on the 22nd. I can test my submission and see what happens. And as you can see here, STP validation passed. So this is the ATO actually connecting to the clearinghouse, connecting back to Odoo and telling us, yes, you're good to go. I can submit to the ATO. Here, I sell my soul, I accept the terms and condition, and I sign and submit. And this is all good to go. So this is actually being sent to the ATO right now, albeit in a test environment. All right. So that's how you basically submit things to the ATO. 2 last things I want to show you. Unfortunately, I don't have much time. Let's go to Savannah and let's print the payslip just to have a look into what will be sent automatically to Savannah as soon as the payslips are confirmed. So you can see here, this is configurable. This is an Odoo external layout template. You can actually decide which payslip rule you want to show or not. So if you see, oh, I don't want to show my salary withholding plus total withholding, I just want to show the total withholding, this is all configurable in your salary rules. But as you can see here, this is ready to go, and this will be sent to Savannah on her private email address. Finally, if I go to reporting super contributions, because you need to be able to pay, you see I have one activity on this Super 2 here, process super payment. I can click on it, and you can see here this is a completely new model that basically shows all the pay slips that you have to pay super for in provision of Payday Super in 2026. All right, so I'm just gonna select my bank journals, lock it, as this is coming from 2 different rounds and pay runs. I lock this in order to focus on these ones. Say 2 days have passed since Odoo last updated Super Fund. I can update them manually to make sure I'm not missing any information, register super payment, and this is going to create a payment in the backend, right? This is basically how things are going for SuperStream. I have to hurry up and go back to the slides, but I'm more than happy to show you after this talk how additional things can work in Odoo Payroll, all right? So, let's get back to the slides. Of course, this is all clear and pretty. However, we still have current limitations as of version 19. First of all, we don't support foreign employment income type. So if you have an employee that's working abroad and being paid abroad for an Australian residence, this is not at the moment something we support, but we're working on it. Tax treatment category, actors and performance, a little niche, but we don't support it as of yet. Pay rate, Odoo does not do award interpretation as of yet. You can still manage all your rates within Odoo, but you'll have to add them manually. You don't have an indicator to tell you you're underpaying your employees, at least not at the time. Replacement rate, so if you're replacing your manager for that 1 day at work, this is something that at the moment we do not manage, but this is a limitation we're aware of and working on. Finally, certain termination payments limitation. Of course, you can terminate employees in a lot of different ways. However, delayed ETP and multiple ETP payments across different financial year, this is still something that we're working on. A little complicated, but our team is already on it. And finally, 2 use cases, early retirement scheme and invalidity. We're still working on it as well. Okay, we can talk about it after the talk. Future roadmap, what exactly are we working on? Of course, our utmost priority is obviously to fix our banking issues. This is something that is very complicated and I would say even a little politicized in Australia. We're working on two different aspects. First of all, open banking standards with Yodlee. And we're also looking at a separate provider because things have been taking a lot of time. So this is one of our priority right now. And if you realize, as a backup solution, we are also currently in the process of getting the CDR accreditation directly with the ACCC, because we want to make sure to cover our backs in case open banking is not as efficient as it is marketed to be. So that could potentially open the door to some direct feed integration with some major banks in Australia. So of course we're aware of the issues, and this is our utmost priority, but it's very complicated. Also, you can lodge, in the future, we are working on lodging your BAS directly from Odoo to the ATO, and consequently also getting the deferred GST rate, if your company is eligible for it, from the ATO directly. So this is a little integration that we're working on as part of the SBR compliance. We will obviously start the payroll implementation soon in version 19, and we'll get as much feedback as possible. By the way, if you're testing payroll, if you're noticing things that could be improved, do not hesitate to send us feedback. This is a very first module. Finally, PayPal access point for ANZ. This is not, I would say, an emergency for Australia, because a lot of small and medium-sized businesses don't really need that at this point, but we want to be ready with Odoo as soon as it becomes, let's say, as soon as there is a deadline for SMEs. And we're very close to completion on that one. So this is all going to help us with the fiduciary program for Australia that we want to launch. So this is basically a program where we want to onboard the Australian accountants, tax agents onto the Odoo train. So our localization still has, of course, shortcomings. However, it's starting to be quite strong, and which is why at some point we'll start, as soon as we fix the banking issues, we will start the fiduciary program in Australia. Okay, that's it. I have Q&A now. How much time do I have for Q&A? 3 minutes? 3 minutes. All right, I would love to answer a few questions, but of course I can come and meet you right after the talk for more questions and more detailed discussions. Ça va? Yeah.
Thank you, Lionel, for this interesting talk on payroll. So far, there are no questions on the pad, so feel free to just go on the QR code on the pad and ask some questions.
Wow. So some questions? Yeah.
How long would it take to implement this new payroll localization to existing clients?
How long will it take to implement it? Well, I would say that depends of the complexity of your implementation. If you're mostly managing, let's say, full-time, part-time employees, it's going to be very easy, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of features. However, it's not like inventory or manufacturing where it really depends case by case. This is a pretty set module, so I would say at first we're looking in between 8 to 12 hours of implementation at first, but we are also going to start our first implementation very soon, so this is something we'll be able to communicate with more accuracy as we go, but right now we're estimating between 8 to 12 hours for a business case that's not too complicated.
Can we use these features on Odoo 18 on Odoo SH?
Odoo SH, absolutely. So this is going to be available on-premise as well. So on-premise, on Odoo SH, on Odoo SaaS, however, not on Odoo 18 at this moment. We will see whether we'll backport this module. However, in order to maybe manage the influx of customers coming to us with questions and test-proof the implementation, I think we'll start with version 19 and we'll see where we go.
Thank you. How the tax codes can be shown in the payslip like TFT?
Could you say that again, please? Can I see the
tax code can be shown in the payslip like TAT?
How the tax codes can be showed. So we have tax codes, but they're not shown on the payslip. I'm not sure what TFT is, so I would love this person to come to talk to me after. But if it's the tax code for the employee specifically, we can show it on the payslip because it's a field that's recorded on the employee level. So if we want to show it on the payslip level, then we can. For example, tax code for casual, full-time, part-time, Medicare levy exemption, these things can be shown.
Okay, maybe one last question.
Yeah.
Any plans for New Zealand?
This is a very good question. I mean, I'm a little scarred from this payroll implementation in Australia, but we can't stop the Odoo train, so at some point it would be very good if we start the localization in New Zealand, of course, as well. Right now you have an alternative with Employment Hero, but as you know, we like our one-stop shop solution, so at some point it will happen. Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to stop the Q&A session now, but if you have any question later on, feel free to
You can come and talk to me. Thank you very much.